All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, September 7th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. New Discord about to go live today, so pretty excited about that. Come sign up if you haven't already. Anyways, let's get into it here today. Markets are still down on the day, although they are, decently off the lows here. We gapped down this morning. Again, jobless claims came out a little stronger than expected. So again, you got kind of a spike in interest rates earlier on. And then if we look at, there's a 10-year, a little bit of a spike, and then came back in here. Nothing really wrong with the chart, but it is pulling back there. But spiders did come down. You still have this inside bar pattern here on the daily, and that's still holding up. And we did test again that level I talked about a few weeks ago, or over the last couple of weeks rather. The big air pocket yesterday, we came down, didn't quite get there, and we did get there today on the gap down, and we are coming off the lows, but not really like a V shape, right? It's not like a big move. We'll see what we get tomorrow here, but bottom line is this level held. If this breaks tomorrow at any point and you close below this green bar, that would signal some pretty big problems, I think, for bulls. And then that kind of opens the door for a move lower, maybe even towards 435. Again, there's a little trend line right here. We could make a case we could go down there, somewhere in the 439 area. But right now, bulls are holding up. Again, news out of China, basically further reiterating, kind of these like Apple restrictions, and you're seeing a sympathy play off of Nvidia. I know everybody's going to talk about the AI earnings, which that was down 20% at one point, now down just 12%. But you're seeing PLTR down as well in sympathy to that. I think SMCI was down, SMCI down as well, and Nvidia down in sympathy to that. But I think Nvidia is also kind of down here in sympathy to Apple. So it's kind of a double-edged sword right now. So obviously, a lot of their products are in China as well. But Apple down another 3%. So, a pretty big slice. A lot of technical damage here in the last 2 days. You have a big gap there on the chart. It is holding the 175 handle, which it does need to do here in the short term. But if you get any kind of bear pattern here, bear retrace, kind of like how we had a few weeks ago, nice little inside bar, and that took us a little bit lower. It got oversold pretty quickly, though. But you get some type of bear pattern, nothing to say this doesn't go down to 165. And again, this is kind of the concern I had for a while here. If we look at the weekly, where's your support, right? You didn't build any. It's just a passive. Apple has become a vessel for passive flows essentially. So no support's really being built, and that's kind of the problem here. You do have the 200 moving average down there. There's some daily chart support, and then you can kind of go back to some previous levels, like really 155, but you've got a little bit of a pivot there, and then right into that 165 area. But again, not any support on the run up. So that's kind of the problem I have with that. And again, I talk about this all the time, especially with the 0 DTE moves, right? You gamma squeeze up, nothing to say you can't gamma squeeze right back down. And speaking of 0 DTE, where are we sitting today? 44.50 on the SPX. Talked about 44.40 to 44.45. Say that 5 times fast. Talked about that this morning, though, and we've basically been pinned right in that range here. Look at the spiders, 445. We probably close right in this area. It wouldn't shock me at all. Although the VIX is starting to come in a little bit. That's actually red on the day now, so maybe we float back up. Again, like I said yesterday, I do think we kind of hold up a little bit into Opex week. I do think we're going to get a lot of chop going on here, and we have, obviously we're seeing that. We've seen that the last 2 days. It wouldn't shock me if some of this action is already Opex related, as it is a quad witching week. So a lot of premium expiring, and you're going to see a lot of whipsaw here. But right now, again, bottom line, this we're holding that green bar, and that's really what matters here in the short term. And it also looks like we're above, so 445.22, that's going to be that pivot high as well. That's also kind of a psychological level, if you ask me. We did manage to close back above it yesterday. I'm not sure we'll do it today. But for me right now, I don't care about that intraday level as much as we just care about this green bar here. So we'll draw that in, 442.46. And a daily close below that fails that inside bar. A bigger problem is if you close below that 439.97, which would be the weekly. And then you've got weekly chart lower highs in place. So that would be a concern here. But for right now, daily is okay. And, if bulls can get some ground going, you can make a run up at this area. But I think we stay muted here into Opex week. And, I think we still do stay under pressure here into the fall. But again, one level at a time. But right now, spiders are holding here. And we'll leave it at that. Triple Qs here are coming off the lows decently, but still down a lot more than the spiders. And again, Apple having a lot to do with that. Nvidia is coming off the lows here a little bit. Broadcom also taking a little bit of a hit today as well. We see Avgo there, little trend line break there, down 1.5. Nvidia, that 450 area, that seems to be kind of like the floodgate level. And again, this stock is so tied to the market right now, especially for momentum and sentiment. Buyer sentiment. I think that 450 area, obviously they've defended that recently. I think if that breaks, you could get kind of a bigger bear move. I know everybody's going to look at the gap, but that trend line right there, I think, is kind of your big level, and it should get tested at some point. If we break that and we break this pivot, then it's down to 375 here on Nvidia. By the way, speaking of Nvidia, everyone's favorite, Jensen Huang selling some shares here. So cashing out at the highs. Does it mean anything? Maybe, maybe not, but a little interesting tidbit to note there, especially what's going on with the company. We've been following their financial statements. But in any case, Nvidia hanging in there, triple Qs. Again, we talked about the 370. It hit that. We're off of it. Kind of flirting with that 50 and 20 moving average. But again, bottom line, the green bar is holding for now. We are below this red bar high, though, 372.74, unless we get a pretty good thrust here in the last 40 minutes or so. Again, just a psychological level. It's not anything crazy, but just keep an eye on that. All right, Russell 2000, that is still well near the lows here, not really that far off the lows of the day. Down almost 1% on the day, losing that 186 area. So again, if you kind of look at an hourly chart, this breakout right here, we talked about that yesterday. We kind of got above it, said, look, this kind of has that bear flag look, and then boom, right down. Still another bearish inside bar there on the hourly. So the Russell still remains weak. And by the way, too, I mean, not counting the gap, you could kind of say the same thing about the Qs today, too, and the spiders. So not a really great bounce, but again, markets are holding off the lows there. And we'll respect it as long as that green bar remains intact. It's going to get talked about, but there's a head and shoulder there on the Russell as well. If that neckline triggers on a close, the Russell can go a lot lower here, but until it triggers, we don't want to call it anything just yet. I see a lot of people call head and shoulders, very much like the spiders here. They're like, oh, it's gonna happen, but it needs to actually trigger before you can call for it. But it's something to watch there. But anyways, Russell off the lows, just like everything else. Dow here green on the day with XLP and XLU up, right? So kind of a risk off type look. Seeing consumer staples, utilities up. That is common when you see tech get smacked. So the Dow is getting a little bit of a bid. Let's look at UNH. Yeah, UNH up 1.67. That's going to make the Dow up almost every time there. But Dow getting a little bit of a bid. It has to hold this area here, and it's doing that right now. We filled the gap yesterday. We'll see what kind of pattern this gives us. But again, resistance right here, supports right there. Then if this pivot goes, it can go a lot lower, but until then it's holding up. Semis we already kind of touched on, but pretty good damage. And this is why I said, there's no accidents, right? They don't do this on accident. Once from 156.58, I really, I mean that. It was closed below by 1 penny. And that does matter. As you can see here, we're coming all the way back down. And again, testing this green bar, last Tuesday, 829. And we're off that low. If that gets closed below, then you're going back down to 145 and probably just hitting that trend line there. You got the 100 moving average as well. But it's hanging in there. SMHC, it's coming off the lows. You see Nvidia getting a little bit of a bid there. That's obviously going to help out Broadcom off the lows as well. Intel is actually holding up really well. That's making new 52-week highs, so that is helping out there. That is kind of a value play at this stage of the game. But in any case, semis down 2.2, and really not a good day. So getting hit here. Take a look at TSM, by the way. New weekly lower low, so watch that. All right, IGV continues to be one of the strongest sectors. Finally had a red day, though. It took 9 days, but I mean, who knows? Maybe in the next 20 minutes it can push up here. It's only down 60 cents. So we'll see. But it is backing off a little bit. This is still a strong name. And yeah, cloud software is just holding up really well. So again, resistance still right up here in that 367 area. And then, of course, the double top. But right now, IGV holding up. And yeah, definitely one of the strongest sectors that I can see. Transports here on the softer side. Again, beautiful bear flag breakdown. It is into the 15,250 area. We talked about that. I've been calling for that last week or so. And we did come off the lows, but notice how we're not getting like a big bounce. Why? Because we consolidated, right? So this can still get to 15. I can't rule that out. But it is holding that level for now. And again, we'll leave it at that. If it starts to flag again, it's probably going down to that 15 handle, maybe even 14.8. But right now, coming off the lows, again, we'll see what it does tomorrow. All right, anyways, interest rates here. So looking at the 2-year first, as always. Again, backing off a little bit. Again, jobless claims gave it a jolt this morning, and then we came right back in. But again, there's nothing wrong with this pattern. I don't see any issues with the yield charts. Look at the 5-year. Looks very strong. 10-year, trying a cup and handle there, potentially. And same thing on the 30-year. So again, nothing's changed there on yields. They're still holding up. And when is it going to matter? Well, you need that 2-year to break above 5.33. That's really it. XHB, of course, that's green. Has to be green. Still inside bar, though. If you look on the hourly, big move down the other day, and then, just kind of chopping, right? So this could be bearish consolidation here on the hourly and, even the 4-hour, right? That's a bearish inside bar. You break through these lows here. And it's probably back down to that 78 handle. So watch that on the XHP, on the ITB again, same kind of pattern. Although it is getting a little bit more of an outsized bid here today, up 1%. But yeah, home builders, they are looking top heavy. They've been top heavy for a while, but it doesn't matter. They've just been still been getting that bid over and over. But eventually, everything has to come back to earth. VNQ here. Decently up here. Again, this just kind of does what it wants. Market's down, VNQ's up. VNQ's down, market's up. Kind of that, kind of goes on its own time there. Up 53 cents. Again, still 83, 84 resistance. And then this trend line down here. If that breaks, you're going to 78. In fact, that trend line probably does break here at some point. XLF. Fractionally lower here on the day. Down just 0.25%. Nothing terrible there. JPM is in rough shape, though. That's definitely a weak chart. Bank of America, not in good shape either. Wells, Citi, Goldman, Morgan Stanley, all look very weak to me. And I'm covering these more specifically because, again, lately Berkshire has been very strong, and that really skews the XLF. So I'm going to give everybody a good look at the banks there, not just the ETF that's heavily skewed towards Berkshire, which is heavily skewed towards Apple for that matter. But in any case, banks down a little bit here today. Take a look at KRE, bear flag, it's playing out. KBE, same thing. Broker dealers coming down as well, testing the 50. Yeah, let's see if this breaks. I'm going to say 490, 485 to 490 here in the short term. I'm usually pretty good at calling levels on this thing. But it's holding up holding that 50 for now, so we'll see if it can get a bounce tomorrow. If you can come back and attack 510 and get through that, then you can go back up to 515, 520. But right now it is pulling back there, and we'll see if it holds that 50 tomorrow. Crude here, just down 49 cents, so it's still holding up really well. It's up 0.5%, just inside of yesterday's action, and again, it's still a little overbought, but there's nothing to say this doesn't just pull back here. All right, so there's a lot of mixed opinions right now. Some people are calling for, $150 crude by the end of the year. I'm not in that camp. There's some people that are calling for $50 crude by the end of the year. I'm not really in that camp either. I think it's somewhere in the middle. But right now, I can say the chart's holding up well. It's acting very strong. So until that changes, kind of just have to go with the trend here. That doesn't mean I would chase it. I would rather buy a pullback of something of that nature. But yeah, it's holding up really well. XLE, not even pulling in a little bit here, so up just 4 cents. But again, market is down today and XLE is up. A lot of resistance with this red bar here, but again, nothing to say this can't consolidate and move higher. And they've been doing that really since June, right? So here's the XOP, which has been moving up. We had a little daily consolidation and then a pop. So again, nothing to say these can't consolidate. OIH, same thing. This is still coming into, that 100-month moving average though, and then you have kind of like this breakdown or reversal pivot, not that far ahead. So OIH, I would say the upside is more limited than the other energy plays, but again, still a strong chart and it's still holding up. If this flags here, it can still have one more pop left in it. Nat gas getting a bid here today, coming off the lows, so up 3%. Again, there's your trend line. It's been clear as day. One thing I've been talking about a lot is that 4-hour RSI. That's kind of been the buy signal since, literally the exact low. So April 14th, or right there. And every time it gets oversold, we get a good bid. And the last time we were in inventories, look where we were. So same thing, we got the inventories today. And that came in way, again, it was very mispriced, just like it was the last time. And we got a huge bid off of that. So nat gas holding up. But again, still got that big ascending triangle look. Just taking its sweet time. So, but nat gas with a bid there. All right, dollar index. Again, another thing that, a lot of people are now saying, everybody was panicked down here and now everybody loves the dollar. And there's a lot of people calling for it to come down. The economy's going to slow down, this and that and the other thing. But again, if you look at a bigger picture of the dollar here, that's a monthly. There is nothing wrong with that. You got a monthly bullish inside bar. We tested the lows. We closed back above it. Little trend line breakout. We're above all the moving averages. I don't see, the daily can get overbought, right? It can get overbought because the monthly is on breakout. The weekly, again, I keep hammering on this, but you negate these bear patterns with weekly closes. That matters. So the dollar can get overbought and probably wants 106. There's your pivot high, 105.88. It's probably where it wants to go. Doesn't mean it'll go there tomorrow, but that's ultimately where I think it wants to go before you have a bigger, more meaningful pullback, right? Pivot high, breakdown bar, that's where it should test. And this is why I said, if we close above that level, whatever it was, 102.75, you have bears trapped down here. And when bears get trapped, things get overbought. So I hear a lot of people complaining about it, but that's just the way it is. There's nothing wrong with this chart here. In any case, over to gold. So gold, hanging in there okay. Again, down just 20 cents. Nothing wrong here. Again, dollar kind of a pause day. Gold kind of a pause day. My bias is still kind of down to 19 and then 18.25. I still think it needs to go down there, but again, it's holding up. Not really much to say. It's been very choppy here and not a lot going on there. Silver, on the other hand, continuing to pull back, down 1%. What did we talk about? The 23 handle. Didn't quite get there, 23.13, but it is a little beat up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. So it's taking a bit of a hit. We'll see what it does tomorrow. But again, 23 should be good daily chart support, and we'll watch that there. If we lose that, then I think you break these pivots. So just be aware of silver. I do think the lows are in on silver, but even on this move and on this move, I never really thought that this was the big push. I still think we have to have one more corrective move. Then platinum also backing off as well. So I'd say that WV is probably canceled. You could technically put in a higher low here, but it's definitely looking weaker. Needs to hold that 900 handle, and then if it doesn't, it's down into this zone, which you guys know that I like. Palladium, nothing doing there, and then copper here down 2 cents. Still has support at 370, so nothing new to report there. Although it did come decently off the lows, I will say. It had a nice pop there. All right. Bitcoin here getting a little bit of a bid. It's still in a range. Nothing's changed here. You can make a case it's this bearish consolidation, and this pivot is becoming more minor. If we break it, it's 21.5. Okay, nothing's changed there. All right, anyways, lastly, back over to the spiders. Let's take a look here. So market's closing about 30 minutes. Yeah, so we're going to get pinned here. Again, maybe we have one more little pop or something like that, or drop. But the Gamma Boys are winning today. 44.50. Who wants to guess that we're going to close right there? We probably will. As for tomorrow, I could see another little push up, something of that nature. But again, you don't want to see, and again, to go back here, You don't want to see that low taken out on a close. That would be a failure, and that can take you lower pretty quickly. But again, I do think the market does hold up into Opex, so we'll see what kind of a price action we get tomorrow. And then, yeah, we'll take it one day at a time, as always. Anyways, guys, gonna wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I will talk to you guys all tomorrow.